The surgery went okay. Yeah, and she'll be there maybe 10 days. Recovering. They took her spleen out and part of her liver, I think it was, in a pretty major surgery, several hours of surgery. Wasn't expecting that, but she was in surgery for a long time. Pray for her. Her husband's still down there with her.
And her gallbladder too.
Gallbladder also. Okay. Remember Harold's daughter. She's just gone through a major surgery for her cancer treatment. Anyone else we need to mention? Seems like there is.
Johnny's gonna be out. John said he'd be out of town.
Johnny's out of town.
He's on furlough. He's gonna be spending a long time in Lufkin.
Oh, that's right. He's laid off on his job because of the government shutdown. So he may be in Lufkin for a few days. I remember Johnny. We miss him. All right, let's have a word of prayer. Father, we're thankful that we can approach you this morning in prayer, and we're mindful of Harold's daughter, and we pray your good help for her in every way. Praying for the success of this surgery, praying it might be very helpful to her, that she can return home to her family and resume her normal duties as a wife and as a mother. But we pray your good help for her in every way. Pray, Father, that you bless us this morning as we engage in the discussion of your word, praying that we can understand it, praying, Father, that we can live by it in every good way. Forgive us where we fail to do those things. In the name of Christ we ask. Amen. Galatians chapter 2, verse 10, we discussed part of this last week. Paul and Barnabas, and Paul is relating to the churches in Galatia what happened in Antioch, and how they'd gone to Jerusalem to discuss the idea that some false teachers had came to Antioch and told people there that they needed to keep the old law. That's what he's telling the Galatian people, and they're going through the same thing, and he's trying to explain to them, don't pay them any attention, there's nothing to it. But we noticed in verse 10 of Galatians chapter 2, upon this meeting in Jerusalem in Acts chapter 15 is over, and they told Paul and Barnabas, as they're going back to Antioch now, only they would that we should remember the poor folks. And he concluded by saying, the same which I also was forward to do. And we noticed last week, we spent the whole class looking at the idea that there was much relief, much aid sent to the poor people in Jerusalem and Judea. I'm not sure that these elders and apostles were talking about just the poor people in Jerusalem and Judea, although I suspect that they were, but we of course could take that in a general sense, and it would still be okay. There's the Joneses. But he's telling them to remember the poor. Remember the poor in Jerusalem and Judea. Remember the poor in general, whichever way that we need to remember the poor. And Paul says, I'm way ahead of you. That's what we've been doing. And that is, of course, what we will continue to do. We will go to Acts chapter 11, where him and Barnabas had took some relief already to the churches in Jerusalem and in Judea. And so I want to notice this morning, we want to make some application to ourselves. Do we need to remember the poor today?
Yes.
Do we have any poor folks today?
Yes.
We do.
Both physical and spiritual.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the physical side of it. Do we remember the poor folks today? People who are poor, actually. Yes. Not you, Harold, you're not poor. We try to remember you, though. We're not poor. We're not poor, but there are poor folks around us. There are poor people in the church, and we're going to focus this morning on widows. Widows are poor. Do we have an obligation to widows this morning? Do what now?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Notice something. Go with me, if you would, first of all, to, before we leave Galatians chapter 6 and verse 10. Something's familiar. As we ever have opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially those that are of the household of faith. If we have the opportunity to help somebody, members of the church would come first, especially those of the household of faith. And if you can help somebody else, well, do that too. So if we have the ability and we have the opportunity, that presents to us our responsibility to do those things. And certainly we've all been blessed with where we're not poor. We can help in some way other folks. But notice, if you would, Mark chapter 7. Mark chapter 7, I've learned something, Edgar. As old as I am, it's amazing. I can still learn something. Notice verse 11. Jesus is talking to some Pharisees here who have made up some doctrines of their own, and they're ignoring the commandments of God. But you folks say, if a man shall say to his father and mother, it is Corban, that is to say, it's a gift of whatsoever you might have been profited by me, well, he's free of that responsibility. He's talking about people who have older parents who need to be taken care of. They're elderly. Maybe they're poor. Maybe they need to be taken into their home. But you know what, Mom and Dad? Andy, me and Pat have made up our will, and our mothers and daddies are still living, but we made up our will, and all of our stuff is going to go directly to the church here once we're dead and gone. So Mom and Dad, sorry, but we can't help you. Our stuff belongs to the church. And we can, that's what Corban means. We dedicated it to the Lord. What we have, Mom and Dad, we dedicated it to the Lord. And so that relieves me of the obligation. You're looking at me like, no. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'll finish the story.
What's Corban mean?
It's a gift to God.
A gift to God. It's been set aside to God.
Set aside or dedicated for their purpose.
Yes. And that relieved them of their obligation to their mother and daddy. That's the point. You don't see that? Notice.
What you might receive from God.
Okay, go with me to Matthew chapter 15. Let's enlarge on that. Same thing is going to be said in Matthew chapter 15, but there's something in particular here that I've learned even in my old age here. Matthew chapter 15, well, let's begin in verse 3. The Pharisees have come to Jesus about some tradition. Verse 3, Jesus is talking, why do you transgress the commandment of God by your traditions? Now, they've made up a loophole here. They know that they're going to have to take care of Mom and Daddy. And I've worked all my life, and my time's my time, and my stuff is my stuff, and it's time for me to enjoy it myself, We've got nursing homes to take care of Mom and Dad.
Now, wait a minute, Ricky. Matthew 15, verse 3. That you don't need to honor his father and mother. Thus you have made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition.
Yes.
They have made the effect of God. This is what they were doing. It's their tradition that they were violating, not the commandment of God.
Notice the tradition, though. What's the tradition that they're violating here? God commanded, verse 4, saying, honor your father and mother. What's that part of the Ten Commandments? Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12. Honor your father and your mother. But the man that curses his father or mother, let him die the death. That's part of the old law. I'm not taking care of Mom and Daddy. In fact, they're so sorry, and I give them a good horse cussing, that guy can be stoned to death. Let him die the death. That was part of the old law, too. I ain't taking care of them, Harold. It's mine, and I've worked hard for mine.
We'll kill you in their place.
What now?
We'll kill you in their place.
Yeah. But notice, let's go on here. But now you say, here's our tradition now. Here's our loophole. Whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it's a gift. That's the Corban back in Matthew or Mark chapter 7. It's a gift, Mom or Dad. Whatsoever you might have been profited by me. However, I could have helped you, Mom and Dad. I've dedicated it to the Lord. And I love the Lord more than I do you, Mom and Dad. And of course, that's what I'm supposed to do, Mom and Dad. And so I love the Lord. I've dedicated it to the Lord. I can't use the Lord's stuff to help y'all. That's the loophole. But notice what he says here. Verse 6. And because of that, he's not going to honor his father and mother. And he's free. Because we willed it all to the church, and I'm free. I'm still living in the house. Y'all going to get the church and get in our house. But we still got to live there. You're going to get our bank account, but we still got to live. But when we're dead and gone, we don't care what happens to it. Right now, I'm going to enjoy it for myself.
You do as well, just like you got to live in that same house.
Do what now?
You got to take care of Mom and Daddy, just like you got to live in that same house. You
No.
to the Lord, but you got responsibilities while you're here.
But they're not doing that. Notice this now. He's not going to honor his father and mother. He's free because we've created this tradition. We've created this loophole. Thus you have made the commandment of God of honoring your father of none effect by your tradition. I'm free of that responsibility because I've dedicated everything to the Lord. And Mom and Dad, I'm sorry, but I just can't help you. You can go get in the nursing home. Do what?
It doesn't work like that.
Well, that's what they were doing.
I'm waiting for Ricky's explanation.
Okay, notice verse 7, you're a bunch of hypocrites. You're a hypocrite. That you're doing that to your mama and your daddy. You're not going to honor your father and your mother. Verse 6, not doing it. Because I've dedicated all my stuff to the Lord. And I can't lose the Lord's stuff on you. Andy, that's the teaching there. No, but let's go on. Verse 7, you're a bunch of hypocrites. These type of people, verse 8, notice this. They draw nigh to me with their mouth and they honor me with their lips. Their heart's a long way from me. You know, we want to do what's right. I love the Lord more than I love Mom and Dad. Actually, I love my bank account more than I love Mom and Dad. I'm going to use it for myself. I still got to leave them. But Mom and Dad, I would have helped you, but I've given it all to the Lord. When I'm gone, it all goes to the Lord. Notice verse 9. Here's what I learned. These folks, in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines, their doctrine, this tradition, the commandments of men. We have always hung that around the neck of our denominational friends. Those denominational friends of ours are teaching for their doctrine in their worship service things that are not authorized. And yeah, we have. That took it completely out of the context.
I agree with that. This context can apply to that, but it's not limited to that context.
It's not. But we never apply it to that context.
I guess
No, we don't.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Notice the context. He's talking about people who are trying to get out of helping their mom and daddy. Their worship is vain. Their worship's vain. They don't even need to show up.
Because they're teaching doctrines of man.
Yeah, because they got their own tradition, their own doctrine. They're teaching that. We're practicing this. I've dedicated it all to the church, and Mom and Dad, you can just get out and root hog or die. But it's my money, it's my time, and I've got some time left, and I'm going to enjoy my retirement. I've heard a member of the church tell me that. I've heard a member of the church tell me that their in-laws would never allow them to move in with him. Because they're old and they're contrary, and besides that, he's retired, and his time is his time. A member of the church, Andy. And they didn't move in with him. He died in nursing home.
In 1 Timothy chapter 5, and there verse 7.
We're fixing to go there.
Oh, okay. And these things command that they may be blameless. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those in his household, mom, dad, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, wherever, he is not in the face of the person unbeliever.
Yeah.
Is this first thing we do somebody?
Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 5. 1 Timothy chapter 5, keep in mind now, Jesus told them in verse 4, Matthew 15 and verse 4, honor your father and your mother. Make sure you honor your father. What does that mean, honor them? Good morning, Dad.
It means to provide for, to honor, to respect, to assist, to...
Whatever it takes.
Everything we do.
Honor, if I honor the king, it's going to be more than I pay the taxes.
Yeah. But if you're going to honor your father and mother, it's more than saying, yeah, that's my good old mama right there. I honor her.
But you
Supplying whatever she needs.
If you don't take care of dear old mom, you're not honoring her.
Okay, exactly. Whatever she needs.
That's it.
Whatever she needs.
Whatever she needs. If she needs to move in with me, then we're moving in.
Move over.
Yeah. If she needs money to buy food, here's the money.
Take the checkbook.
But I've got out of that because I dedicated mine to the Lord. Mama.
That's Ricky, you're missing 5 minutes.
Now. Go ahead.
You can't get out of it. You have to serve the Lord, but part of serving the Lord is going to be taking care of your family.
No, I can't get out of it. These folks were getting out of it. These folks here in Matthew 15.
They were wrong.
They were wrong. And that's what Jesus said. You're a bunch of hypocrites. And when you come to worship me, your worship is vain. You just will stay at the house.
Because you're not.
No, I can't get out of it.
You're not doing the whole law. You're not keeping the whole truth.
I agree with that, but I'm talking about these people. We're fixing to apply this now to us. Remember now, honor your father and mother. Notice 1 Timothy chapter 5 in verse 3. There he says to honor widows. Honor widows that are widows indeed. That's a good old widow there. She's a good old widow.
Are you gonna honor that? Wait, yes. Are you gonna limit this passage and the context thereof to widows only?
No,
Okay,
no,
okay,
that'd be silly.
okay, I just,
But, notice, but verse, I'm getting a little here. If any widow have children or nephews, that relieves the nieces, don't it? No. But Andy, in some of our Church of Christ doctrine, you know, we have qualifications for elders. We're fixing to look at the qualification for a widow. It's not that I'm trying to figure out if the widow is qualified. I want to look at myself. Would I help her? And do I need to know the widow before I decide I'm going to help her? Do I need to know her?
Ricky, can I make a statement?
Sure.
Before we ever get into class too far.
Okay?
If we as individual Christians were fulfilling our God-given responsibility, we would not need orphan homes. We would not need ministerial alliances. We would not need elderly care.
I totally
we would
agree.
be doing our job because we as Christians are individually failing the home and the church.
Well, we ain't doing it. We got all that.
We can understand that with the world, but it
You know what?
shouldn't be that way with us.
James chapter 1 and verse 27 that says what? Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is what?
You keep with them in spite of the word and visit fathers and widows.
Yeah. Pure religion is visit the fatherless, the orphans, and the widows.
And keep oneself in spite of the world.
Yeah. But here it is, visit the widows and the orphans. Now that don't necessarily mean go knock on their door, but it would be good. Visit them, help them in whatever way that you could help them. Go ahead.
Is that an activity of the church or is that an activity of the individual?
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be ahead of class.
Okay? But notice here now, let's go back to 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 3. Honor widows, honor your father and your mother, honor widows that are widows indeed. Is that the same honor? That's my good old mama. That's a good old widow over there. I just honored both of them.
At least be that concerned.
Do what now?
At least be that concerned about that person.
Okay?
If I'm not mistaken, that word honor is from the same root word, is it not?
It's the same word. Same word.
I think I didn't.
Whatever it takes to help your mama and daddy over here, the same applies to the widow. But will I do that? I don't think we have any problem with mom and daddy.
Let's go back to Acts chapter 2. They had all things in common as they needed.
Mhm.
I owe as much responsibility to the widow as I do to you if you're a brother in need.
Yes, yes. Acts chapter 6 deals with what? The first part of it.
The needy widows or
Needy widows. Needy widows there in the church of Jerusalem. But the question for us today is, do we do that?
not as much as we should.
Amen.
Well, but this is not a menu.
If we're not doing it, Jesus would call us hypocrites, just like he did those in Matthew.
That's the point of that. And our worship is
Vain.
vain, just like them other hypocrites. All I want us to do is look at ourselves. I need to look at me. Yeah, everybody else look at yourself. What are we doing?
We can all, I know I could help more. I'll say that.
Well,
I'll say that publicly.
yeah, me too. But is our worship vain? Is our worship vain? What are we doing?
That's why the church shouldn't be.
If you're not insincere, it is vain. But never,
Let's go ahead. I mean,
but never,
do we need to? We probably don't even need to discuss this.
benevolence to the needy is one of the greatest evangelistic tools that we have as Christians. If I see my neighbor in need, whether he needs a piece of cornbread or he needs a shoulder to cry on, if I'm there to give him the feed and the cornbread and to cry with him, I'm going to have a better access to teach him the gospel. Benevolence is the best door to evangelism.
I agree.
And we're not doing it, Ricky, collectively or individually.
But do you know, Andy, this would not be taught in most churches of Christ. It would not be taught.
That is the reason we're in the situation in the church that we're in today, is because we have failed to teach the way about.
Well, I don't want to be uncomfortable, Andy. I don't come here to be uncomfortable now. I've been told that.
I hope I make you uncomfortable.
Huh?
I hope I make you uncomfortable.
Well, I hope I make you uncomfortable too, because that's the reason we're, not on purpose now,
That's
but look,
what,
like,
this is what stir up means.
yeah. Let's look at what we're doing here.
We've
I
said
didn't
it,
look at me.
we sat in these church buildings and made ourselves comfortable so we have neglected both the physical and spiritual needs of the poor.
Yeah. Edgar?
First Corinthians 13:3, now it's still all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love, it profits me nothing.
Mm-hmm. If I don't have any love for the widow, I ain't.
I love her, but I hadn't done nothing for her.
Do what?
I love her, but I hadn't done nothing for her.
No. But let's go on here. Honor widows that are widows indeed. We need to find out if she's a real widow, if she really needs help. How in the world am I going to know that? How will I know that? I can email her. You know how an old widow is about an email? About like me, Edgar, with an email. But we're going to have to get to know the widow. We're going to know who she is. Does she really, really someone who needs help? She's someone who is destitute. She's older and helpless, and she could get the greeter's job at Walmart. She could. She can't hardly stand up at home, but they could get her a chair.
She could read an email, she probably don't.
You are making one. You'd be a great friend with Moses.
Do what now?
You'd be a great friend with Moses with all your excuses.
Oh, with black shoes, yeah.
You'd be a great.
Well, that's just, that's what we do, though.
It is.
That's what we do. Now, notice verse 4. Now, there's some stipulations on this. Can we just, somebody's a widow, well, we're going to take care of the widow. No. Can we take care of every widow? No. Should we? No. Notice verse 4. If any widow have children or nephews, let them learn, the nephews and children to learn to show kindness at home, to take care of their parents, for that is good and acceptable before God. Children and nephews. That's what it says. We can't go beyond. Let's use a little common sense. Let's don't do it like we do the qualification for elders. Let's use a little common sense. Could a niece help the widow? I don't say that. There's a loophole. There's a loophole right there. Let's argue over that while the widow starves to death. That's what we would do. We gotta tear this completely apart, Edgar.
Well, whenever the man asked the Lord how many times should he forgive him, 7 times, no, he said 70 plus 7. Does that mean only that many times?
No, I don't think so. I think we got to use a little common sense there. Sometimes common sense goes out the window when we get to talking about something that's difficult here. But,
There's young widows too, huh, Ricky?
sir,
There's young widows too.
well, there's a talk about the young widows. Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about the young widows. I'm going to use that as an example of the young widow, but she wouldn't be a young widow anymore. Better not go there, man. But notice here. Children or nephews. They're the first line of defense. They're the first one that should be helping their their widowed aunt or their widowed mother. That makes sense. What if they won't do it? There's another loophole. She has children. What if they won't, or they can't even take care of themselves? They can't take care of themselves, much less her.
If we see the need, we're the ones supposed to act.
Well, are we second in line? The children ain't going to do it. Well, they can't take care of themselves. They can't take care of her. So she, I don't know what happened to them, Edgar. No, anyone have any comment now? What I'm wanting to look at is not the widow. How is she qualified? What's my attitude towards the widow? That's what I want to look at this morning. What am I doing?
Not only your attitude, but your action.
Yes. But, I'm going to honor this widow, and I'm going to try to find out. Now, let's keep it going before we go there. Verse 5. Now, see that as a widow is a real widow. First of all, she's desolate. She trusts in the Lord. She continues in supplication and prayers night and day. Now, these are the qualifications for a widow that I have to be looking at to try to figure out if she's a real widow that's in need. First of all, she's desolate. What's desolate mean? You want that? Desperate. Desperate. Desperate.
Do we have to wait till someone gets desperate before we reach out to them?
We shouldn't, but we do. Yeah, we do. We do.
I mean,
Yeah. 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 And usually they're going to have to reach out to us because I ain't going to reach out to them. They're going to have to come tell me, I can't. I'm either buying my medicine or I've got to buy a handful of groceries. And I've got to have my heart beat.
may I say something right before you as well? If we had godly elderships and godly deacons, that would also assist in that problem.
Yeah, but we don't.
We don't.
So what are we going to do?
That's what I'm saying, is we need to get back to the Bible pattern in all areas.
Mm-hmm.
Our whole structure is suffering because we have neglected and negated the Bible pattern.
Mm-hmm. Us, we talk about us now.
I'm talking about those of us sitting in White Park in this building, in this location, that does not have a godly eldership, does not have godly deacons, does not have a membership board that like we should have, does not have the evangelism program we should have, because we have neglected ourselves to a comfort religion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can I be any stranger than that?
No, but Eddie, I like my lifestyle. You mean I've got to go help this old widow?
Well, you got to go with the widow. You got to be a Christian all the way around.
But that might cost me something, Eddie. You want me to make a
Quit
sacrifice?
being a stingy Gabriel.
No, I'm trying to tell you how we are. I'm trying to tell you that's how it is.
I can look in the same mirror and say, quit being finicky, Andy. I mean, that's,
Well, we'll go back to verse 4. I skipped this. If she has children, is that believing or unbelieving children?
Oh, come on.
Well, there's another loophole there, Andy.
No, it's not.
Let's argue over these qualifications, just like we do the eldership. It could be either one. Verse 16 covers that. If any man or woman that believes have widows, there's the believing children now. But regardless of the children back there, they're not going to help her.
The condition of the children of the peripheral it doesn't say believing or unbelieving.
No, it don't.
It says children.
Yeah, but the qualification for the elder, he has to have believing children also. When we have beat that dead horse, he is nothing but a fault.
We have rode it to the point that we have neglected the eldership instead.
We're not concerned about that. We can do the same thing with these qualifications. And if we really got down to it, we would. But that's just, that's just the way it is. But notice, go back to verse 5. She's desolate. She needs actually help. She's trusting the Lord. And I would think that a desolate widow who's a member of the church does trust in the Lord. Notice the last part of it. Continues in supplication and prayer night and day. First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 17 tells me to pray without ceasing. So I'm continuing in prayer 24/7. No, I'm not. Does that mean that she has to? Night and day.
Could not a saint that helps that needy widow be an answer to her prayer?
Yes. Yes. But I think it's pointing to the idea that she trusts in God. She knows somehow or another the Lord's going to provide. Somehow or another, she will get by, regardless of what I don't do. She will get by. She trusts in God. That doesn't mean that she's praying night and day, but there's another loophole. I know she don't pray night and day. Said though, but let's use a little common sense here. Notice verse 6 though. Here's the opposite of a real widow need. That widow that lives in pleasure is dead while she lives. Now we can just spend a minute on that. She's an old woman that has a worldly lifestyle. That ain't what he's talking about. She's an older woman who maybe likes to pamper herself. She needs her makeup. I won't even go there. She's got to have the latest updated cell phone. No, she don't. No, she don't. Probably can't get a flip phone anymore. Well, we need to look good. That's what we all like, but now as a widow indeed, she's interested in all that, well, some of them might be. But if she expects me to furnish her the latest cell phone, no, she's not too much in need. If that's what she's interested in. She likes to look good. She needs that cell phone. She needs her jewelry. She needs the stylish eyewear. No. That one is dead while she lives. She ain't in need. Do I need to help that widow? She's not too worried about what she's going to eat, but I need to get my eyeliner and my what else it is I need to get. I don't know what it is, but no. 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 8, Paul tells us there, having food and raiment, let's all be content. That food, raiment, and clothing, food, shelter, and clothing. Food, shelter, and clothing, should we be content? Well, I've got that, and I am content. I'm thankful. I am. But if this widow is a real widow indeed, and she's got that, then she's happy and she's content. She's probably a real widow. Notice verse 9. There's some more qualifications. Don't take in a widow under the number of 60 years old. There it is, Harold. She's got to be 60 years old. Got to be 60 years old, having been the wife of one man. Now let's take that one apart. Qualification for an elder is having been the husband of one wife. But his wife died 30 years ago, and he remarried. He's been the husband of two wives. We've torn that into pieces, just talked it to death, and here we are here. Well, we can do the same thing with this too. And while we're debating it, Edgar, the widow's still starving. Well, we're trying to decide what this means. Do we need to use a little common sense even with this? Yeah. But do we do that? I don't know. No, because it says, wait till we get to verse 10. She's well reported of for good works. She had brought up children. She's lodged strangers. She's washed the saints' feet. She's relieved the afflicted. She's diligently followed every good work. She's reported for her good works. I remember when she was younger. Y'all remember when she was younger?
She must have been a bad mother, didn't bring up good children who should have taken care of them when we had this discussion. I've heard that.
Yeah. So there's a disqualifier right there. There's so many loopholes in this. So we need to just tear that out of our Bible. I mean, we don't.
While you're tearing it, Mark 16, 16, Acts 2:38 with it.
Do what now?
While you're tearing it, Mark 16,
Sure, why not?
16, Acts 2:38 with it.
Does that apply just as much as this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We would not do that, but this is not important now. Or are we like the folks in Matthew chapter 15 where worship is vain? Really? Now you're agreeing with me. You're agreeing with me now, and this is tough. This applies to me. I need to look at me. What am I doing? She's got to be at least 60 years old. She's known for her good works. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 16 tells me to let your good works so shine before men let your light so shine before men that they can see your good works and glorify God on this behalf. I've got to be able to do that too. Have always done that. Has the widow always done that? That's under consideration. No more than any of us. Would any of us meet these qualifications? She brought up children. Believing children. She brought up children.
You're reading the word into that.
Well, I know, but we're talking about widows that are members of the church that we're going to be charged with taking care of. She's got to have believing children, hasn't she? No. Have you noticed a lot of the widows today, a lot of the grandmothers today are raising their grandchildren because their children are so sorry that they can't raise them, and those are the ones that's supposed to be taking care of her.
Amen.
I'm not going to do that. So what, do we have any responsibility towards this woman who's raising her grandchildren too, trying to? I think we do. She's lodged strangers. When she was able, she provided hospitality to other people. I don't remember her doing that. Did I always do that? Did Pat always do that? Well, she wouldn't qualify for a widow either. I think she's talking about right this stage in her life. You know, what is she doing now, and could she do that now? When she had the ability to do that, to show hospitality, to take people in and to take care of them. Notice the next one, she's washed the saints' feet. How many foot washings we've been to lately? You know, I've washed Pat's feet a time or two with these surgeries, but that's about it. And folks, you know, I'm not advocating foot washing, but if we practice foot washing, it wouldn't bother me one bit to wash anybody's feet. I don't care. I can do that. But we can't do that because we would be blackballed in the brotherhood.
Expand that foot washing.
Okay.
I understand what foot washing is. Could you not render that she has served the fellow Christians, she has worked with the group, she has served other people. This foot washing is a indication of her service life.
That's what John 13, Jesus washed the apostles' feet, and he asked him when I got through, do you know what I just did?
I served.
Well, yeah, you just washed my feet. How would I not know?
You humbled yourself and served me.
His master became the servant.
This foot washing here, we bind these words.
Oh, I know.
Words, but it's set there to teach the application of service. Mm-hmm. Same way with the eldership qualifications.
Yeah, but Andy, we need to go by these qualifications. It says wash the saints' feet.
Serve the foot.
I know, I agree. Do we need to use a little common sense? Yeah. But, you know, here's what it says now. If she's relieved the afflicted, when she had the ability to go help somebody else, would she have been the type of person to have gone and done that?
And most likely, if she's that qualified widow, she would go even in her hour of need to help you if you were sick.
Yes. Yes.
She would come hold your hand or wipe your nose
Yeah.
or whatever you did.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
she was desperate, she'd still serve you.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Because that's the type of person she is.
Yes, that's the type of person she is. She's visited and she's helped other folks that were in need, like she's in need now. She done to others what she'd have them do to her. Well, we're going to have to go back and examine her life. No, let's don't go back and examine her whole life. Don't examine mine either.
None of us are perfect, Ricky.
No, and her either. But we got to go by these qualifications now. Use a little common sense.
I'm sure we didn't do this with him.
Diligently followed every good work. She had diligently followed every good work. Oh, now I remember when she was younger. Well, we're talking about now, this stage of her life. Have I diligently followed every good work all my life? No. No, and she hasn't either. But no, let's look at her like she is now. Notice James chapter 2. Anyone have any comment? Me and Andy done all the arguing.
When she was young, and when I was young, and you was young, and we did all these things. Once we asked for forgiveness, we were forgave.
Yeah.
Get that?
Yeah.
God forgives it, but my brotherhood don't.
That's what that apply also to the widow of Edgar. She's been asked, yeah. And that's a good point. Code?
So going back to the feet washing thing, this is something that was brought to my attention, but I guess I didn't understand.
I can't hear you.
I said, going back to the feet washing thing, this is something that was brought to my attention because I guess I didn't understand. Today, if we did feet washing, you know, Saturday we go get manicures or pedicures. Sunday morning we wash our feet, wear, you know, our newest shoes, our newest socks.
Yeah.
Back then, they didn't have that. They'd walk for days and days and
Yeah.
days. Remember how nasty our feet are for one day of working?
Mm.
Come home.
It was a sign of hospitality. At first it showed up in Genesis chapter 18 and verse 4 when Abraham had some strangers come in. He said, y'all sit down here, we're going to get some water so we wash your feet. That's where we have first mention of foot washing. It was just hospitality, trying to make somebody feel comfortable, relieve their tired feet. We don't have that today. But if we needed to practice that, it wouldn't bother me. But we can't because we'd be blackballed with the rest of the conservative churches of Christ, and we can't afford that. So, no, we don't wash feet. And I don't know that that's an issue. Not to me, Pat. You have your hand up?
No, it's not.
Okay. Notice James chapter 2.
Harold got a comment.
What?
Harold got a comment.
Harold?
I don't know the scripture number, but if we got several, we know we've got a lot of widows out there, but scripture does say for us to be wise with our money like the heathens do, so, you know, you might pick the ones out of there that you can afford to help that really, really need it,
Yeah.
instead of maybe looking at the ones that's driving the Cadillac, you know.
Well, and that was another point that I was gonna make, and I'm running out of time. You brought it to my mind. Those folks back in Matthew chapter 15 said, sorry, mom and dad, it's dedicated to the Lord. Folks, I'm sorry this morning, but mine's been dedicated to the finance company. I can't afford it. I can't afford to help them because all my assets is dedicated to the finance company. I remember the church here not too long ago told me one time in my house, if he got out of a job, everything he owned was financed and he couldn't afford to be out of a job. That's their business, I guess. You know, I hammered in Colt's head for 2 years. Colt, don't spend everything you make. Put some back, because one day you're going to need it or somebody will need it. Don't spend everything that you make. Don't spend more than you make. All my stuff is dedicated to the finance company. They're a member of the church. Like that. I can't help.
That's because
I've got my toys.
That's because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses.
I like my toys. Andy, I've worked all my life. I'm retired. I'm going to enjoy myself now.
Jones, as you said.
Not these times.
You got to keep up with the Fred. You know, I didn't.
But that's a problem. That's a problem. In the church, James chapter 2, verse 15, if a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food.
Now, I'm glad you looked at that verse. I want to close you back with a question.
Okay, well, let's wait a minute now. If a brother or sister is destitute of daily food, they ain't got nothing to eat. I'm either have to buy my medicine or I can buy a loaf of bread. I can't have both. I got to have my heart medicine. Notice the next verse. I'm going to say to them, depart in peace. I hope you get warm and I hope you get full, but you gave them nothing, those things which are needful to their body. Did I do them any good? Nah. You know, Harold, Diane was gone for 3 or 4 days last week. He nearly starved to death, Diane, while you were gone. Not really. But I prayed for him every day, hoping he'll make it through another day. And that my prayer made your belly full, didn't it? No, that didn't help you one bit, Arlene.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The modern day equivalent is I'll pray for you.
Yeah, I'm going to pray for you. And that filled up their belly. No, the question was, what good did that do? Nothing. And folks, that's what we usually do. I'm gonna pray for you. We might need to look at what we're doing. Need to examine ourselves. To visit the fatherless and the widows. That means not just knocking on their door, but the only way I'm going to figure out if it is a widow is I'm going to have to talk to her, I guess, or just take her word for it. Let's just take her word. No, we can't do that. But the visit there is to help them, aid them. But a knock on the door wouldn't hurt either. Ed and I got into one of the worst things this past week I believe I've ever heard, and I won't even relate it to you about families. You would not believe, but at any rate, we'll just leave it at that. But honor them, help provide for them, support, sustain. Physical visit would be in order. Not an email. Don't send them an email. They're like me. They'll never see an email or a message or whatever it is. But do we do that? Bottom line is, can we help them out of the church treasury?
Yes.
I agree. Would we help them out of the church treasury?
Probably not.
Probably not. Well, we're down to $30,000. We can't go. We're down to $30,000.
Okay, let's go back to the application of this woman that she prayed a lot.
Okay?
If we use that money and it gets down to zero, the Lord will provide. Brother, we don't live like that. We don't work like that today.
No.
We've got it, we're going to keep it because we might need it. What about needing it now that the Lord give us more tomorrow?
Yeah.
Don't put next there again. I got one more situation for
Well,
you.
no, I'm just marking my place for next. We'll go to verse 11 next
This
week.
is a real live case. We've been talking about widows. We've been talking about women.
Widows.
Let's go to what widower. If you have a destitute, and I mean destitute, male Christian who is faithful, can the church support him? That's a situation that I was in, that I was placed in a congregation in a business meeting where a man did not have food. He was truly destitute. He was in his late 70s. He was a child of God. He was a Christian, and he was honest and sincere. Can the church financially support a male widower who is in need, who has no family?
I'm going with Church of Christ doctrine. Widower was not mentioned. I gotta go with widow.
Ricky?
I'm not gonna use any comments.
Ricky,
Yeah,
I
you
know
can.
for a fact that almost caused a split, and it was finally picked up with several brothers. The man was held. He got need.
Mhm.
But the foolishness that our brotherhood has come to, and I use that word with quote marks around it because I'm no man of food,
Yeah,
is absolutely absurd.
absolutely, I agree.
I don't. If a widow is if a woman is in need and she's a child of God, help her. God will take care of us.
Yeah.
But the same way, and I wanted to ask the question in closing this class: if it's a male going the other direction, can we do the same thing?
Yes,
And I've heard the doctrine.
yes, I know. But
We're
we
so
we can work on that old horse for a long time too. Arlene, did you know? Somebody had their hand up. Oh, Colt, was it you?
Looking at James chapter 3, 13 through 15, there's some people who also like to help people out and do good works, and they go and boast about it. But in 15 it says, wisdom does not descend from above, but is earthly, sensual, and light.
Mm-hmm.
It says, do not be bitter, do not have bitter envy and self-seeking in your hearts. Do not boast and lie against the truth. This is talking about who is wise and understanding and let him show good works, good conduct, that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That kind of wisdom that we use, that didn't come from the Lord. These ideas that we come up with, no. Envying and strife and all these kind of stuff. So I realize we're studying Galatians, but I